Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from M.I.A world and beyond.
Hey,
I was
yeah,
ready for this time, baby.
nice, man. We're pros. We get the
And
big
especially
one.
since Google Effects is off, we're gonna need you.
Yeah, that's me and that guy from the police academy, Michael, whoever he is, the sound effects dude.
I think he's speaking at the Republican convention tonight
Ooh.
in all sound effects. Go ahead.
Tachi.
I'm your host, Alexio. Joining me as always is Kid Nate of Blade
That's
Elbow.
King Nate to you.
Oh, is your king again?
Nah, I'm just.
Now you keep on going back and forth. I thought it was King.
He's confused. Actually, there's a girl I used to go to high school with whose name was Moana. Many people would pronounce it as Mona. I think her parents purposely chose it so she could spend the rest of her life correcting people. Okay, Mona. Mona. All right, sit down. All right.
Well, it's like when I was a kid, there was a girl, Liza, and we all knew as Lisa. And we had some drunken substitute one day. It's like, Liza here. And we're all like, Lisa! He's like, Liza! I know my name is Liza. Eugene S. Robinson from Aussie.com and author of Fight. Everything everyone knows about ass kicking, but we're afraid to get your ass kicked for asking.
Nice.
Eugene,
Sir.
You're the UFC. Your main eventer, Brock Lesnar, got popped for a potential anti-doping violation.
Potential. I like your use of the language, man.
That's liar talk.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
And who really suffered? His UFC 200 opponent, Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Once he ran to you, now he runs from you. This tainted fight you've given, he gave you all a fighter could give you. You gonna let him pack his things and go, or will you make things right with money he needs to hold him tight?
Man, you know that was not Mark Allman originally. I feel ashamed of myself that it took me 5 years to realize that wasn't Mark Allman. That Mark Allman was doing a cover. You know?
I think a lot of people were shocked by it.
Man, I may say shocked. Maybe surprised. And then recently, I mean, like in the last month and a half, I made an entreaty to do a duet with Mark Allman.
Ooh.
He's working with a friend of mine in England. I go, yeah, we gotta sing a duet together.
And that song?
And I didn't even think of that, but a song, you know. And that went just as far as when Matthew Barney approached me and asked me to sing "Between the Sheets" by the Isley Brothers. I actually never heard from him again.
Before or after you sang it?
After I sang it. That's how good it was. So, all right. So, answer the question. Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt is like that movie from the 70s, all the right 80s, all the right moves. In my mind, Mark Hunt is making all the right moves. You know, I mean, and I like what he did. He said, you know what? Tri-level chest style. You guys give me half of Lesnar's purse or I walk. Right? Now, people, under normal circumstances, previous to this kerfuffle, if Mark Hunt said, hey, I want green peas in my dressing room or yellow M&Ms or I walk, everybody at Zupa goes, fucking walk. I don't give a fuck about you. But he clearly, under the shadow of a blood red sky, he skates right in there and says, I want half. And before the UFC has had before Zuffa and the Baldwin have had a chance to go, aha, he goes, actually, I meant whole. I want the entire purse. And now he goes to the Andy Robinson move. I don't know if you've been able to figure this out by the presence of his pictures on Twitter. Look at me. Look at my nose. That's Andy Robinson from Dirty Harry, for those of you who don't know the film reference I'm making. Look what he did to me, that cop Callahan. And so he's in the hospital bed looking way worse than he ever did. You know, is that a current photo? Who knows? So the UFC said, now the UFC thinks, you know, half doesn't sound that crazy because they've got a PR problem on their hands that they didn't account for. And you know who's kicking themselves all over that fake ring? Vince McMahon. I mean, this is not, it's one of those things where I don't know how anybody expected this to end any other place when they cut him a dispensation from the testing because he just came in and they did some kind of thing and it was like this kind of weird Sorry, see, this is Sorrel sitting right next to me. I have to salute him. And they did some kind of weird kind of horse trading where he either tested it correctly or he's not. I mean, everybody saw it coming. Everybody saw it coming. So Mark Hunt, in my mind, is making it complete right. Unless they come back with, my final offer is this. Michael Corleone style, 0. My final offer is 0. And then Mark Hunt has put himself in a place where he goes, you know what? I'm going to Bellator. How many fights does he have in his contract anyway? Can the heavyweight division stand it? I mean, of course, the heavyweight can, with a resurgent now, Cain Velasquez, Alistair Overeem, and it can stand it. But we will not see Brock again. and Mark Hunt is going to get something in the envelope beyond which what I believe he actually got for okey doke in the fight, right? And that's why he's got leverage, because of the okey doke of the fight. Except, you know what? You know who else thought he had leverage? Sonny Liston thought he had leverage. I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
Sonny Liston was owned and operated by a slightly bloodthirstier crew.
You said it, buddy.
Allegedly.
Kid Nate in Austin, Texas. He said it, not me.
See, I think all those guys are dead now. I think I can.
I'm not worried about those guys. I'm worried about friends of those guys.
What do you think, Nate?
Well, I think the UFC has got themselves in a spot where they're going to have to. It's like when Danny Bonaducci beat up the transsexual prostitute, and some comedian told him, "Pay the man, Danny. Just pay the man. Pay Mark Hunt. You got yourself in this whole pickle when you kicked Conor McGregor off the UFC 200 card over some bullshit, some trifling bullshit, and that cascading, the cascading series of disasters that resulted from that impetuous and petty decision." Continuing to just get shit everywhere. Then you're dependent on John Jones. He fucks up. You got to drag in Brock Lesnar. Go ahead.
Predictably,
yes. And you gotta pay off Brock Lesnar. You got to pay off the WWE. Now you got to pay off Mark Hunt. Just pay the money and get it over with. I mean,
you know what Ari Emanuel says right now? Just what you said.
Yeah, pay the man. I mean, Ari, did y'all follow the whole thing with? It turns out Fox News allegedly, according to Sports Business Daily, offered $3.8 billion for the UFC, and the UFC didn't want to take it, and the whole WME plan, and ESPN supposedly had a package, but it didn't come across the $4 billion line either. Both the TV networks were more skeptical about the amount of money the UFC is going to get out of the TV rights bidding next time. UFC and WME supposedly are banking on getting 4 times the amount of money for TV rights they got in the Fox deal last time. And when the TV networks are saying, you're not going to get that much, I think you're not going to get that much.
The TV networks? You mean the ones?
Yeah, ESPN and Fox are both like, it's not worth that much because the TV rights is not going to be what it is. Because ESPN is hemorrhaging money, for one thing. They lost... I think 500,000 subscribers in the last couple of months.
That's
because so many people are cutting the cord. And ESPN's business, they make money on ads, but mostly they make money on cable rights fees. That whole business is going down the toilet. And the day of being desperately overbidding for sports properties because it's live TV and everybody has to watch it. In 2016, anybody who wants to watch it's going to find it streaming somewhere. And if you're putting it on TV, somebody's streaming it. I guarantee you. There's too many ways to do it, and the rights are just not worth what they're going to be. So WME is now in a position where they're going to have to go with an IPO to get their money back, and so it's the greater fool theory.
My God! I'm talking to a guy who's playing checkers, and everybody else is playing tri-level chess. And Kid Nate's standing at the end of the board, going, "King me, king me, king me."
I'm focused on the bottom line, Eugene.
Everybody else is too, but you, like I said on Knuckle Up this week, you're missing. The trees there, and there's a forest there. Do you think Ari is doing it for a quick flip? For I got to go out now. I got to do this thing IPO because the rights are. I mean, he's in entertainment. He knows exactly what's been happening with TV. That's not the plan, man. The plan is to use this as a product accelerator, and the product are UFC fucking fighters, man. I mean, you think we like Nick Diaz? What's Nick Diaz's ranking off the top of your head?
And what? In the UFC rankings?
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's ranked currently.
Yeah, we don't even know. That's it. I mean, this is we are a personality generator, and the aspirations that I think an Emmanuel or somebody at William Morris would have for the entire 450 fighter roster is beyond. Look, so like I said 18 years ago, it's a combat sport in which white cats are competitive. It's a combat sport that draws on collegiate wrestling where white dudes are. It has inroads into Olympic wrestling. It's at the heart of the American fucking experience. You know, it's got all of the drama of WWE without the fakeness. Nobody believes a professional boxer is going to be able to have any kind of purchase. It is truly the world's toughest man, one of the hardest sports ever. These guys, they look good. Some of them actually sound good. I mean, this is where the property 4 times on the low end, on the fucking low end. The upside potential of this company, which is what we had the guy who used to be in William Morris on Ozzy's on the E button, the thing I do on Ozzy. You know, he said, they're looking down the road, 10-year potential. It's not a quick flip, man, and nobody is pulling the cord on that. They're not thinking, oh, I got the pay-per-view numbers, and I got 1.2 mil, and I got that's change in the couch. Change in the couch. If you just take, I see you shaking your head. If you just take,
you don't go back to Michael Dell with "We got big plans 10 years down the road."
Dell was
the TV deal that's a fraction of what you told him it was going to be.
Dell is the only misstep in that whole thing. And Dell is the guy with the bank.
Well, they put that together quick. He wasn't the original backer they had lined up.
Dell is the guy. Dell is the guy. You know, it stakes you for a poker game. He's just hoping things work out. But you take the people who have come through the agency system, right? Randy Couture, Aranda. We could even go with Keith Jardine, who was in that pack. These are guys whose faces you've seen in major motion pictures.
Oleg Taktarov, if you go old school.
Yeah, if you want to go old school, Taktarov.
Tyrone Nelson for
Tyrone Woodley. I don't know if you're on my Instagram account or my Twitter feed. You saw me put up my last royalty check from Leonard Part 6.
55 cents, man.
Maybe 55 cents. And that was the worst movie of 1987. These guys could make serious money all over the place. They don't give a shit if they ever fight again, fundamentally. As long as people care, that's what they're banking on.
Well, what I love about the deal as well is it creates a great way of pointing the finger or passing the buck when it comes to rights and money and opportunities, you know. So you can have a situation where, look, you might not have a fighters union in place, you might not have all these incredible pay increases, but you can say, hey, I got a movie role for you. You like being in the movies, don't you? And if you're in enough, you can join that. You can join SAG. And get those benefits. You can kind of like push it off somewhere else.
Or all the doctoring. Oh, you know, who do we? I mean, before Ellen Page came out, right? If they did it old Hollywood style, where they're trying to create a beard for her, say, hey, Ellen, why don't you take like Dominic Cruz to the Oscars? That would be. I mean, man, they're just, you know.
I never thought about that. This is bad times for the bearding business, man.
But what you can also do with it as well is if you have a problem actor or someone, you know, that you're representing, it's like, you ever try mixed martial arts?
Or not even. How about this?
Like put them in their ass beat.
Hey man, did you fundamentally?
I got celebrity MMA for you.
No. Did you fundamentally change the way you understood or felt about Justin Bieber when he started hanging out with Money Mayweather? It may not have been a big change, but you felt slightly differently about it, man. You know, and I don't know whether I think he obviously was driven by, you know, liking the kid and hanging out with him, but. There are all kinds of freaking deals, man. There are all kinds of. I mean, as long as I got people looking, somebody's getting paid. And the UFC is a look generator all across the line. Fights? What? Oh yeah. You know, how much of the game of football has to do with what happens on the fucking field? Okay, the football season is what, 12 weeks? I don't know how long it is, but I know that 12 months. 16 weeks and
plus playoffs.
And then 12 months in a year. Right. So now we got the combines, we got trades, we got all the stadium action. We're going to get a new stadium, not a new stadium. We got teams threatening to move, or the Oakland Raiders going to go to L.A. A large portion of that iceberg is the business. The top is the game, you know.
Also the fight library, the fact that, you know, you're able to see Fedor, right? So, you know, when I was at CBS, Les Moonves had made the revelation that, look, at the end of the day, we're a content company.
Yep.
Right? So being able to say, look, we look at the assets we actually have. It's not about licensing other people's stuff. We have the rights to stuff. And we're making a killing off of I Love Lucy overseas. There are a lot of properties we have we're making money off of. So I think to a certain degree, there's a kind of paradigm shift that some more innovative CEOs have with regard to, I need to have content. And I need to control that content. I need to license content instead of getting caught up in licensing other people's stuff. Yep. And positioning it, like you said, Eugene, with regard to other kinds of properties and
everything. I want to show how tough my Schick shaver is, and who jumps in the frame with a Schick shaver. Stipe Miocic. He's like, this is fighting tough. I'm not an ad writer, right?
Well, speaking about tough, Nate, your Bellator.
Oh, nice. That was great.
Michael Venom Page gave you a highlight reel KO and a viral Pokemon post-fight celebration.
Oh.
The news broke that it came at the cost of opponent Cyborg Santos' skull, which was fractured in the fracas. On the heels of Dada 5000's near-death experience, is this PR just not worth it to you? Or do you, Pokemon, go with it because the time is right?
Well, I think they're doing the right thing. They're trying to keep it quiet. They're paying his bills, and they're giving him a win bonus. So they're throwing some money at him. They're getting this medical treatment. They're not going to leave him. I mean, because potentially they're not liable necessarily to pay his hospital bills. They don't have a health insurance program.
When Justina puts up a GoFundMe page to help the guy, that was a bad fucking look.
Yeah, his ex-wife.
Scott Coker's hand and probably Mike Hogan behind it was pushing. Okay, we got to pay this guy.
Yeah, because they could have just stuck him in England where he can't fly out of the country because his skull is a shattered eggshell, and he can't necessarily get surgery because, I don't know, he doesn't qualify for National Health Service or what. Or who knows how long it takes you to get skull surgery in England with the National Health Service.
Plus, anyway, you're in bad shape. If a dude's ex-wife is helping, that's a real bad look. Like, this is the woman who has the least amount of affection, and she's helping him, And she's helping him in a really super public way with a GoFundMe camp so we could all throw our 2 nickels in. And but I'm not seeing that at all. You know why?
Why?
MVP. In fact, I could hold my breath right now, right? And by the time I pass out, I would expect that feelers, tentacles from Zuffa are now trying to get this guy in. Can you see what this does to the UFC? Can you see the matchups? Do I have to even go into the matchups that would be money with this kid? And remember we're always talking about Zuffa's obsession with All-American, a conversation that's completely sidestepped when the black cat is British.
Yeah, that's true.
And
what's interesting about him too is he's always trying. That's the thing about MVP that I think is really fascinating in terms of his multiple attempts to create hype and promotion and make fights fun, or the lead up to it. Is he had this thing a while back where he had his brother and other people doing a little dance on the way. Like, some people may find that annoying, but the fact that he's trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? Like, I got the fighting down. What can I do to make this an event? What can I do to make this exciting? What can I do to make this... Oh, gosh. And you're surrounded by people...
she's upside down.
Yeah.
He's high.
For those listening, Eugene's standing up showing off his Jones shirt with the upside down man. What exactly?
He's doing his cartwheel. The one had the cartwheel he does before he gets in.
I see.
Well, I was like the anti-Michael Jordan instead of the jump man.
Yeah.
And the Pokemon Go move by Venom was slick because it was trending on Facebook, and Bellator never trends on Facebook and Twitter, and that shit was getting a lot of attention. I think the skull fracturing thing got some attention, but not quite as much as the Pokemon attention. So, most people were focused on the happy story of an exciting martial arts move and not the horrifying story of, oh my God, dude's skull shattered like an eggshell.
But
No,
the
no,
horrible
no.
thing, though, is the fact that it adds to that Anderson Silva-esque thing as well. I mean, one of the biggest trending stories, remember, a while back was Anderson Silva's freak injury. So you have a situation where you have Michael Venom Page's celebration, and people want to watch that. It's like, oh my God, look at this. Oh, the celebration. And then when the news hits about what actually happened, I think it's a mixed bag. One side is the group's like, oh my God, this is so horrific. And then you have another group of people, they're like, let me see that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there were so many great moments. His Muhammad Ali, freaking Sonny Liston moment, where immediately post knocking, post giving him the knee, he fucking turtles. He's turtled on his stomach, and Page is standing behind him with his arms. All right, man. He's standing behind him with his arms akimbo, looking at him. That was
Yeah.
you know, if you were a photographer and you didn't get that as a shot, you should just throw your camera away, because that was a fantastic. And I was like, look at that's money. That's highlight reel. He said, and then what that does is it ameliorates the fact that he pulled a Michael Bisping immediately post that, right? And there were a couple steps that anybody else would have been lambasted for. Well, actually, it was another fight, where the fight right before, where he heel hooked the guy. He effortlessly he refused to hold his hands up to put him in the guard, then heel hooked the guy, and he's looking at the guy as he's heel hooking him with this weird reverse heel hook, looking at him like, and then the guy taps, and then he kneels down into his face, and is like, how's that taste? What? Okay, yeah, goodbye. This guy is jerking off the broomstick. He's doing all kinds of disgusting things right out of frame. You can't see. I got to put up with this, Yeah, okay. So, I mean, this stuff would have got anybody else. That's how I know that MVP is like, it's like somebody said, the skills of a John Jones, the magic of Mystic Mac, the Chael Sonnen. Plus he's British, so he kind of sidesteps his whole American weirdness about race, not completely, but sort of. And these other moves would have been death to another fighter: the head fracture, the gloating. The guy's laying there almost dying, and he's doing the Pokemon ball thing. But we're so ready for some sort of good news that we're like, actually, we're in the presence of fucking greatness. And now the issue is, how long before he's poached by the UFC? How long? I mean, I would be very surprised right now if he's like, if the Baldwin is not, we're going to get him. You should play this for advantage now.
Catch them all.
We're gonna, not restrict the trade. How many fights does this guy have left on his contract? I will double that. I will start a bidding war that you can't afford to fucking win.
Well, what's interesting about him too is, I don't know if you've seen his interviews as well, like not in the cage, but like sit-down interviews. He's a very humble guy, like in terms of putting things into perspective, and his fight IQ seems extremely high. Like what he's experimenting with in the ring, how far, what he knows he needs to do in order to go to the next step. So it's one of these weird.
And given how old he is,
yeah,
you don't have any of the Johnny Boney Joni negatives.
But I'm going to insert something in there. It kind of reminds me, though, potentially of that whole Jeremy Lin Linsanity thing, when Luke Campbell from the 2 Live crew was like, hey, look, man, when he was at Harvard, he was insulated from a certain kind of fan that we see all the time in Florida. And they need to watch. This is back when Linsanity was huge. They need to watch out for that dude, because he has not been prepped for being on court and having a Kardashian come right afterwards, like, hey, like, I like how you perform, but having all this incredible convergence of celebrity and groupies and money, which
will increase now within WME.
Yeah, so that's what's going to be interesting to see whether or not. I mean, that's why years ago, even when Dana White was saying, look, this life is not for everybody, and John Jones is special because he has the tools to. We'll see. This is back in the preacher's son thing. Like, a lot of people fall by the wayside. It's going to really be fascinating.
But it's a different thing. You know what happens? Like, if you get like a female celebrity who's starting to be on the up and up, and people starting to see her in magazines, she generates a certain amount of heat that attracts parasites, right? And these parasites very frequently are looking for ways to get in. And the ways they get in, and they figure out very quickly, do they favor any certain chemicals? I've had porn star women friends, and they never ever paid for drugs. Like, you go to a club with them and they say, I want to get some drugs. I go, well, how am I going to? I don't know people like that here. What's Florida? How am I supposed to? She goes, wait a minute, I'll be back. walks across the dance floor, talks to some guy. 30 seconds later, drugs. I go, how much did he charge? And she just looks at me like, you poor, sad son of a bitch. Wow, I goes like, oh my God, it's like the Eddie Murphy thing, people give hot chicks things for free. So that fighter becomes a hot chick. But you know what? Dude's 29 years old, I mean, what kind of inducements are they going to offer that are greater than the inducement? What, Kardashian shows up? What? You going to help me win my next fight? You got to know. John Jones is a cautionary tale, the end-all card. He's going to hang out with the guys at the mini mart, in Albuquerque. Yeah, I'm talking about MVP. I don't see him as susceptible. And according to my spies, Johnny Boney Joni, he's penitent. He's back home and he's penitent, huh? Out past two. Yeah, when you become an MMA fighter like John Jones, the world becomes your father. What is he doing out past 2 a.m. the other night? Oh,
he needed some milk.
Yeah, no. I don't mean out. I mean out at the club. What? I mean 2 a.m. Oh, you're getting over things. You're seriously rededicating yourself to the sport. What? I'm not saying the guy can't go out. I was out last night till 2 in the morning. Oxbow played a freaking show, right? Generally, I'm not going out till 2 in the morning because I got to get up to get 6 to hang out with this Sorrel lunatic. But Johnny Jones Bundos is out 2 in the morning. What? And now what's he doing? Is he drinking Shirley Temples? I'm not saying a guy can't drink, but a guy can't drink who has a problem with drinking.
Speaking of problems and celebrity.
I got a curveball right now.
Bingo!
Melania Trump, or however you say her name, plagiarizing Michelle Obama's speech to the Republican National Convention. It's like all night it's a disaster. From the attempted floor vote and the near riot over that, all the way through all the various speakers and all the crazy bullshit they're saying. Then here comes Mrs. Trump, and her speech is not crazy, and it's actually kind of likable, and people are going, this is strange. Wow, this is impressive, and people are starting to applaud. And then somebody points out, she just jacked Michelle Obama's speech from 2008. And when your whole party's platform is hinged on this completely irrational racist hatred of the Obamas, I mean, I see it from my hometown Facebook friends all the time. They'll post a picture of Michelle Obama. Look at that crazy savage ape just embarrassing the country. And she's like in a lovely dress, smiling at somebody, shaking hands and behaving appropriately. And these troglodytes are just, rah, rah. And now they've got their standard bearer stealing her shit. This is just too classic. So if you're Donald Trump, what do, Eugene?
Oh, man. You know what? There's a guy who's a Trump fan here, and he was hanging around because I said, we're going to address this at the top of the hour, and finally he had to get to work, and he just took off. So maybe he'll see this on the go up. And he was like, he actually got steamed and heated. I've been making fun of Trump the whole time, but today he was like, oh, the media does this, the media does that. What did she do? She talked about family. All those people talk about family. What did she do? She talked about, and I said, man, it's like writing a song. You're a guitar player. You should know that, it's not, D, 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 D. It's happy birthday, man. Those are just a series of notes, but a series of notes in that order, it's happy birthday. Everybody knows it. I can sing it in Germany. People know it. So the issue is...
Except you sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
Sorry.
You're supposed to be the musician here, dude. Come on.
I'm doing this show on 3 hours of sleep. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, what he was saying is, and this is where he cut to, it was, match set. He goes, nobody gives a fuck. And I go, you're right. Nobody who votes for Trump gives a fuck. Trump could come out on stage, poop on the podium, rub it in his hair, and run out, and people would go, that's our guy. We're not going to let those fucking elites tell us. I know they're all against us, the media. The people who are going to...
That's the people that are locked in for Trump, but that's only about 40% of the electorate, and he's got to cut in. You got to get people excited to turn out that don't normally turn out, and those people can be really fickle.
No, it's a game of like they do those Highland games with the tree chopping. Because if you don't think that, it's like, if I can't rise up, what's the next best thing? well, let's look over at Hillary. And if anybody's susceptible to being chopped down a little bit lower, it's got to be that Clinton camp. And I can't imagine they're not holding stuff in the back pocket for the Clintons. So they'll ride this through. Donald doesn't have to. He's going to make a publicized firing on the. She obviously didn't write the fucking thing herself, even though she's claiming to have. I only had to read it once because I wrote it. And Paul Manafort at the same time is saying, well, we wrote, these are common words. And, I like Kid Nate eating. Nobody will leave a comment about Kid Nate eating and drinking, but they get fizzed up or knuckle up when I eat some ice cream. So I think this will have, you say 41% are locked in. So what does that leave? Will it affect the fence sitters? And I don't think it's going to affect the fence sitters. Why? Because unlike a traditional campaign, where a traditional campaign now would seek to have a moment that supersets this moment by being a substantially more glorious moment of some kind, the Trump campaign is going to do something. There'll be some other appalling event that undercuts it, but supersets it from the bottom, so that all of a sudden you've forgotten about the Melania thing, and it's something else. Like whether it was Stephen Colbert dressing up as a guy from the Hunger Games, or the floor fight. There's gonna, or even the fact that they got to on the radio today of Trump speaking every night. Is he actually going to do that? Is he actually going to speak?
I think actually you're sort of onto it, but Melania's speech cut out all the other bullshit. Nobody's talking about Duck Dynasty Dude or Scott Baio or the
Steve
floor
King.
fight. They're just talking about Mrs. Trump. And so I think he did kind of cover up.
Here you go. Hollywood Reporter right there. Top story.
Well, also the other thing is we've just begun.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't tell me that when this convention is over, this is going to be the number one story. This isn't going to be the number one story.
No, this is a one-day
The second
story.
speech is made tonight.
Yeah.
Just watch. And speaking of just watching, Nate, since you like to ask questions, I'm going to ask you a question.
There, this fucking curveball. Fuck you and your curveball.
No, I'm glad you do the curveballs. It takes pressure off me. I mean, I'm sure Eugene is glad he doesn't have to answer questions about being Chewbacca's penis and, all the weird ones I used to bring.
Yeah.
So, Nate, you're Taylor Swift. TMZ recently revealed that you allegedly threatened to criminally prosecute Kanye West for illegally recording a phone call with you if he failed to, quote, immediately destroy all such recordings, provide her of assurance that this has been done, and also assurance that these recordings have not been previously disseminated, end quote. Now that his wife Kim Kardashian West revealed the recording, played it on her TV show, you've become the butt of the joke. Is it time for you to tap into Kardashian family history by making Kanye an OJ?
How do you make Kanye an OJ? Goad him into killing you?
Sue him. You sue him. Trial.
I see. She's lost the case. I don't even know that she has a case in the first place. Like, I could write a song right now calling Taylor Swift a bitch and claiming I fucked her. I mean, that's called freedom of speech. Luther Campbell and the 2 Live Crew could do all kinds of shit with her songs. It's
especially
called parody. They won the Supreme Court.
Or if he makes a claim, you have to make the claim that he was trying to defame her. Like the fact that I have had sex with Scarlett Johansson. Hey, baby, I'm not trying to defame you. I'm just trying to shine both of our stars.
But her thing, though, is a federal wiretapping thing. That's what's so wild about it, is the fact that he violated federal wiretapping.
Now that's a good point. That's
the conversation without her permission.
Yeah.
And that varies from state to
so that's
state.
what I'm saying. Yes, and so the question would be, what state was he in? But still,
what state was she in?
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, I think Taylor Swift needs to shut up, and she's getting sucked into the Kanye and Kardashian sinkhole here, and there's no escape. Like, this is not. This doesn't burnish her image. It draws more attention to his song about her, which I don't think was cooking that hot before this stuff. I think Taylor Swift needs to shut up and just get out of this mess. Like, just move on down the road. But if she's got a criminal, if she's got a criminal case, get a state, pressure a state to prosecute it. It's a state matter. It's not it's a public matter, a matter of public interest to prosecute crimes. She doesn't have to personally sue. It's not her money. She can get the district attorney to handle it. That might be fun. Some district attorney might want to get real famous off this.
What do you think, Eugene?
I don't know, man. I mean, I was reminding me when I interviewed Halle Berry, right? And at first, you want to give the person, we're sitting there in her living room, and you want to give the person some time to, and she's going on and on about that accident that she just had where, she left the scene of the accident, and she's actually getting like worked up. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, I mean, imagine having to go out with this chick, and now I'm 10 minutes into hearing about this fucking accident. I had enough, and I spoke out, like not as a journalist, but just as somebody with ears, and I said, why do you care? I don't give a fuck. Plenty of people getting fender benders every day. Why are we even talking about this? It was kind of and she just kind of paused. And Logan goes, you're right. Yeah, I mean, do you really think they're going to send you to jail for a fender bender? You had half a dozen reasons not to stop. You got an expensive mouthpiece to go into court and say that the fact this is a news story at all that you actually seem to be concerned about is totally fucking baffling to me. And
then, then her eyes open wide.
Yeah,
Eugene!
Yeah.
Where have you been all my life?
Well, then, so Taylor Swift, it's like to say, I've been avoiding this story and avoiding this story and it's like, if we're sitting in the same room and you fart once, I'm going to ignore it. You fart twice, I maybe ignore it. 3 or 4 times, I'm like, hey, man, come on, I'm sitting in this room too, And it's like that with the Kardashians and Kanye West and Taylor Swift. It's like they just always get to that 3 fart level where you got to fucking pay attention. But the only way I'm going to pay attention is to say what I just said, which is just stop it. Stop. Yeah, you know what? That friendship is probably done because your friends are doing creepy things like recording your phone calls. That's why I don't like to talk on the phone. I'm assuming it's being recorded anyway. So, and if you think that your enemies are not keeping your text, use up some of the completely reprehensible things I've said in text. The world has got me by the balls, except for the fact that the world doesn't give a fuck what I do. I mean, this is Kanye and the Kardashian working their magic, which is that 3 fart magic. Look at me, say something to me, pay attention to me. I'm sorry. I think the Narcissist Anonymous actually are following me on Facebook, following me on Twitter, and they liked something I had written the other day, and I was like, I don't know if this is good or bad. I mean, I don't. Taylor Swift is richer than God. What does she care? What the fuck does she care? The room stinks. Stand up and leave the room.
Well, it reminds me of a good friend of mine who was in a horrible argument, the receiving end of an argument with a girlfriend of his. And he's like, look, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I understand your point. I don't want to talk about it. She kept on going on him. Like, come on. Like, I understand. And then he said, he just ripped one out. And she's like, oh, did you just fart? He said, yeah. Like, I can't believe you did it. He's like,
I had to.
And then she left the room. He was like, mission accomplished.
Yeah. I mean, so, hey, somebody just texted me another angle, which is probably a genius one that I'm sure Ari Emanuel got 2 weeks ago. Offer Mark Hunt $1 million.
$1 million.
Two, fight Cain Velasquez, right? Because it's like, I'm going to give you, to make up for your pain and suffering, I'm going to give you $1 million. And all you got to do is fight Cain. No, man, you haven't done shit. You would have had to pay me for the Cain fight anyway. That's some like high-level William Morris genius.
The problem is Cain's not going to want to take that fight because Hunt's coming off a loss, and Cain wants to get in the title mix.
Yeah, correct. Yep, that's right. So
Eugene,
yep.
Your rapper M.I.A. You're removed from headlining the AfroPunk Festival in London in wake of your belittling anti-Black Lives Matter tweet. With allegations of being a clueless culture vulture, is it better PR for your brand to murder or let go?
You know what? I might have to recuse myself from this. Simply because I got a beef with the AfroPunk people.
You got beef?
So I'm gonna be unlikely to be. I'm gonna be unlikely.
Vegans here.
All right, anybody? Let's go to Kid Nate on this one. Kid Nate, who's got a long cultural memory about music, post-punk, punk, hardcore music, Austin scene, where big boys were big. Randy Biscuit Turner, a lot of guys, a long time. So industry watcher. Okay, if I'm gonna add, no, I mean I think it's
Well, I
fair.
haven't paid attention in many, many years.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so if you're going to, if we're going to talk about American hardcore, Steve Blush did a book. There are a couple of books out in American hardcore, and you were to talk about black punks. Who would you talk about?
If I was going to talk about African American punk rockers,
Yep.
I'm trying to piece together what this has to do with M.I.A. I guess it has to do with the AfroPunk festival.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, the Bad Brains. Historically, there's Death from Detroit, although they weren't known at the time, but you got to give them propers for having been there early and been very good.
They're the bass player for the Plasmatics.
Again, with you and the Plasmatics, I've erased the Plasmatics from musical history.
I'm just saying. I mean, we don't have to dig very hard. We got
no. You got and Whipping Boy, of course. There's tons of
Okay, so
wait, Eugene Robinson.
Oh yes. So okay, so from the Black Rock Coalition to AfroPunk, they make this documentary. 3 weeks after the documentary wraps, I get a call from the main guy who wrote it, who put together AfroPunk. Goes, you know what? Sorry, man, we forgot to put you in the movie. I go, whatever, man, it's your movie. Do whatever you fucking want with it. He goes, yeah, but I'm just in time to get you in the book. And I was like, okay. So he interviews me, and the questions were really strange. They were like, well, it must have been very tough for you. Tough for me how? Well, being the only black punk rocker. I go, I was so completely alienated. That was the least of my alienation, I mean, fighting with guys on the subway for making fun of me was a much bigger issue, or whatever. And he goes, so were you ostracized? I go, I wasn't ostracized, man. Did people call you a nigger? Nah, it never happened to me, man. Or did they call you a faggot on the street? It never happened. So the book comes out, nothing. All right. So I said, okay, well, maybe they're doing this AfroPunk festival. Maybe Oxbow should play. No interest in having Oxbow play, right? And I'm looking, they got like hip hop acts. I go, oh, I got it. You got to make money. Makes sense. So M.I.A. comes out and says, essentially, says, what was the exact nature of her tweet?
Her basic tweet was.
You have it?
I don't have it right in front of me, but basically what she was trying to say was, Black Lives Matter can talk about their problems, but nobody's talking about the kids getting killed in Syria. That was her basic point.
But also doubled down and said that, also, I already heard all this stuff before.
I heard this in the 80s from Public Enemy.
Come on now, you've already heard this stuff. Meanwhile, with refugees, Lauryn Hill was a part of a group called the Fugees, and they were talking about being refugees. So, people talking about stuff.
Well, I mean, the thing is, she's doing something really super interesting, and she's just following in line with the Clash and saying, I'm bored with the USA, so you guys are getting shot by cops. You know what? We live in a global world, and I have to say that if it's a day where you're not getting shot by a cop, you can play Pokemon Go, you can go to McDonald's, you can drive your expensive SUV over there. You're not living in fucking rubble. Let's put this shit in perspective, which I think is from the lefty side of things a pretty kind of interesting perspective, I mean.
Yeah, she referenced the gal in Pakistan who just got murdered by her brother for, posting some racy pictures on Instagram. I mean,
he drugged her and strangled her in her sleep. So, and this is systemic.
And then is celebrated as a cultural hero for it.
Yeah, so this is dangerous, systemic, and what I mean. Americans are more appalled at being told, you know what, you're not headlining now. Actually, that's what I mean. Trump has benefited from this American perception that we should be headliners, but we're not. Why are we opening the show? How come we're not headline? We should at least be playing support. No, you're not. There are actually like issues that have, and if you want to talk about traction. This whole thing with, now everybody loves this Democratic police chief who called out Don Lemon. He beat up Don Lemon on TV. How hard is that to do? Leopoldo Sorrell could have done that. And English is not his first language. So he's giving it straight to the Black Lives Matter. They're a terrorist organization. Look, any of the cops involved could comfortably say, this is not how we want our day, our week, our month to be spent. Like the woman who I interviewed, who's the criminal justice professor, she interviewed watch commanders all over America. She said every watch commander, if they were asked to give a list, could give you the top 3 problem spots on their staff who they can't get rid of. Why? Because the Policemen's Benevolent Association, the union, is so freaking strong they can't get rid of these guys. They know who they are right away. You could drop 97% of these fucking things down the toilet if you could get rid of those 3 guys, but you can't. Can't get rid of them. Can't educate them. Can't get rid of them.
But you can't get rid of M.I.A., so what should she do?
She should do she's doing it. I mean, was she relevant before she opened her mouth about this?
Really?
No. And this was a great way to return to relevance by globalizing the perspective. You're like, you know what? You don't want to get shot by a cop. I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad. It's an abuse of police powers. But, you know, globally speaking, you don't have problems. You've got difficulties. And I think maybe somebody needs to say it, you know?
What do you think, Nate?
And this comes from a guy from a demographic that is likely to get fucking shot within the hour.
Yeah, I mean, playing the race card, Eugene. You're always playing the race card, but
I'm giving you statistics.
I just had to throw that in there. No, I mean, I'm torn. I think she should stick to her guns. I mean, I don't think she's not American for one thing, and she's not endorsing police violence. She's not saying any trifling bullshit like all lives matter. She's not calling Black Lives Matter a terrorist organization, which it is patently not. It's a nonviolent organization protesting some pretty heinous, fucked up shit. But the thing is, like, Black Lives Matter is a classic revolutionary situation because revolutions are not fomented when things are really shitty. They're fomented when things are almost really good. And you got this whole young generation of millennial black kids who grew up with Barack Obama in the White House. They had high expectations. They're well educated. Then they get hit with the financial crisis. They get hit with the student loan shit. Then they get hit with cops killing people with impunity and nothing happening. I mean, look at Baltimore. Prosecutor makes a big show about indicting all these cops, and then one by one they keep acquitting these cops. Like the guy broke his own spine. I mean, give me a break. But globally, if you're in Aleppo, Syria, man, you'd love to have the problems they have in Ferguson. Oh my God, getting stopped every day and getting a trivial parking ticket, 3 days in jail, no problem. Nobody skinned my kid alive. Nobody's bombing the hospital I'm at. I mean, that's the kind of shit they're dealing with in Aleppo. They don't give 2 fucks about the problems of the black, you know, working class and middle class in America. So there's an audience, there's a constituency that's hearing what she's saying. I think she should keep speaking out. I mean, her career's pretty cold anyway. It's been, I mean, what is she, like 10, 15 years old since she's been a thing? Like,
right.
Yeah, well, the other thing, what I thought was kind of weird, it goes back to what Eugene had mentioned, which is the tone deafness, I think, of the AfroPunk festival organizers. Yeah, right. I mean, when I first heard of the controversy, I read a letter before they removed her, and one of the people, you know, some of the followers of AfroPunk were like, look, you know what? There are not many opportunities as a person of African descent to go to a festival and see performers like me or with similar backgrounds that are punk performers, and also, you know, and the fact that you're even picking somebody to headline a festival who isn't even from that whole movement, like, that's questionable in the first place. And then the person, you know, is going to be making the statement, which is like a double dip in rejection, you know, in terms of who you think the target audience is. So I just thought it was such a fascinating kerfuffle from both the organizer's perspective and M.I.A. I mean, at the end of the day, also the fact that her whole shtick is, you know, the song that was popular for her, she was jacking like rap music and like, I'm a gangsta and all this kind of stuff. And so it's just like, it's like almost a triple dip in terms of, like, we hear a lot of arguments of cultural appropriation a lot of times, like, oh yeah, you know, people sometimes I think overreacting, but for this it's like, come on, like for this festival you're gonna have her as the headliner on top of the stuff that she's saying. So I get where you guys are coming from in terms of a global perspective, but when you're looking at an AfroPunk festival, like, come on, man. It's not not All Lives Matter or refugee crisis, or it's not global punk, and that even she'd be suspect at a global punk festival. Yeah, right. So anyway, that's my
Well, at least he's not Azalea Banks bleaching her skin white. I gotta bring up my girl
Azalea Banks had hotter songs. That's the sad thing. Like, I had to listen. I was like, let me listen to M.I.A. song just to remind me. I couldn't get through like 20 seconds of that shit. I was like, oh my, this? Paper Plane? What kind of bullshit is this?
15 years ago, whenever, it wasn't bad.
Man.
No, that big hit was
always bad.
The cash register noise or the
that one, yeah.
That was pretty good. I like that.
Listen to it again. You listen to it again.
I actually having daughters, I have listened to it maybe more recently than you have, actually.
Oh Lord, I have daughters too, but fortunately, you know, they're younger, and I'm guiding them in. They're listening now.
Did you see who the festival replaced her with?
No.
You want to talk about fresh and current?
Oh my God.
Grace Jones. They unearthed the ghost.
Yes.
And
Nah,
Grace Jones sucked in the '80s. I think she's cool, but her music was never good.
Oh, come on. Pull up
Hey, you know who I'm
going
going to interview? Hey, you know who I'm going to
Still
interview?
rock to that shit.
You know who I'm going to interview at the Ozzy Fest on Saturday? Chris Blackwell, baby.
Oh, speaking of my Jamaican guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that. So.
Wow. Well, speaking of excitement, Eugene, your Turkey President Erdogan. After overcoming a failed military coup last week, you've rounded up at least 6,000 plotters. According to the BBC, you've pledged to move Turkey forward in, quote, unity and solidarity, end quote, by reinstating the death penalty. Quote, we cannot delay this anymore because in this country, those who launch a coup will have to pay the price for it, end quote. Is there any other currency you'll accept, or must they pay the iron price?
So I'm answering this as though I'm Erdogan?
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking A. Damn.
I should have cut this earlier.
I'm glad you.
We don't do questions where we take the role of Roger Ailes, but we're willing to take the role of Erdogan. I mean,
no, man. I mean, he's that. I mean, you know. I've read a lot about Stalin and Hitler and Mao.
See, hey, there you go. We always have to bring in these kinds of individuals.
And I'm gonna have to say, if I'm Erdogan, that's exactly what I want to do. Night of the long knives. Try night and day. Try week. Try month of the long knives. Got a clean fucking house. I mean, what boggles my mind, however, I don't know if you're a big fan of Eugene O'Neill and read Emperor Jones, but what boggles my mind is how everybody always ends up in the same place with a forest full of ghosts, and a mine full of worms. I mean, I don't know how he really expects this to play out. If I were Erdogan, my dedication to public service ends. I was like, oh, you're unhappy. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my place in Côte d'Azur, and I'm going to take all my fucking money with me and all my mistresses and my wife and my kids, take all my rolls, and I'll leave you to it. Good luck. Say hello to Libya, I mean, you got to be careful. I owe you
instead of Brexit.
yeah, right. I owe you nothing. The fact that he wants to stay means to me that he's power mad and probably shouldn't be allowed to stay. But if I'm him, of course I'm staying. Of course I'm changing the death penalty. Of course I'm icing all those guys. And if I can't get away with it publicly, you're going to have a lot of guys having accidents. He fell down the stairs. It looks like he was shot 8 times in the back. Probably cause of death was falling down the stairs. I think he was shot. He fell down the stairs. I got you. Come on.
He overshot the steps. He overshot the stairs.
Do you weigh more than Turkey? Clearly not. Clearly not. Those guys are dying. They're as good as dead. Whether they change it, they're as good as dead because they've gotten to that point. Should he do that? I don't know if should has anything to do with it, man. Their response, it's causally connected to the crackdown. And at this point, America's completely fucking frozen because they go, do we get a Morsi, or do we get or do we get an Assad? Do we want an Assad? How the fuck do we play this? How did we miss this? Paying attention to this fucking clown with the dyed hair, and this shit slips away from us. What do we do? Now they're playing catch up, trying to figure out, do they support Erdogan? How old is Erdogan? Who is a likely successor? Who do you want to trundle Turkey? Now we're in the Israeli situation. Well, we have a friend in Turkey. Well, how good is that friendship? Is that friendship, if we double down on that friendship, are we going to be shit in the bed 5 years from now when the dude does decide to go to Côte d'Azur and fuck the country? I mean, this is not even tri-level chess. America fundamentally can't win these things. We just can't. We're fucked in Israel. We're fucked in the Middle East. We're like George H.W. Bush had it best. Somebody at one point asked him about the Middle East. He was like, I don't have anything to do with those people. Like I told Kid Nate in comments, it is intractable. And every time I find myself caught up, I got to remember, this is like arguing about Quake versus Quisp. There is no answer. There is no answer. No answer that will ever work. What should he do? Well, if I'm Erdogan, I kill everybody. That's exactly what I do.
So, Nate, this is giving you an opportunity to be the angel on the shoulder
of Erdogan. Well, for one thing,
I was the angel on his shoulder too, just a different type of angel.
I'm saying, like, Erdogan, there's reason to believe Erdogan set up the coup. I mean, these were junior officers that pulled off a very amateurish, bad, failed coup. They had multiple opportunities to shoot his plane out of the sky. They didn't do it. They didn't seem to know where he was. They surrounded his vacation house hours after he left. They took over one TV station instead of all the TV stations. They shut down the internet. Then it came back on. Soldiers are coming out who participated in it and said, hey, we didn't know we were in a coup. We were told we were participating in military exercises. There's, all kinds of people saying, nobody's wanted to own this. And then Erdogan, it's like after 9/11, the day after 9/11, they come out with, the 3 million page Patriot Act, like all ready to go. And that doesn't mean they plotted 9/11, but it does mean they were ready when the opportunity came. Erdogan had this list of judges, of thousands of judges to be fired and arrested instantly. And those judges weren't involved in this coup. He's cracking down on opposition political parties that came out and supported him during the coup. I mean, this is either a fiendish plot on his part or sheer opportunism. The problem is reinstating the death penalty. The EU is telling him, dude, if you reinstate the death penalty, you're never going to get in the EU. But at this point, I think he's thinking, I know I'm never getting in the EU anyway, so fuck y'all.
Yeah, based on how old he is, that's the problem. We ran a piece on Ozzy. Old people shouldn't be allowed to vote. You think that guy's not factoring in his age? Oh, 15 years from now, fuck you. I'm not going to be. I'll do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Erdogan, and the whole situation is, especially from the U.S. perspective, like we were coy at first, and then we came out. I knew the coup was done when the U.S. came out and supported democracy, because our initial statements were about stability. And we've backed the Turkish military in multiple coups since the 60s, again in the 70s, again in the 80s. Some pretty brutal coups against democratically elected forces. So we don't care about democracy in Turkey, but we do care about stability. And as soon as we came out talking shit about democracy, I knew the coup was done. Yeah. And then our NATO base over there, the one with nukes in it, they turned the power off to that shit. They imposed a no-fly rule. I mean, we've got nukes and troops that's a big support plane for our war on ISIS, and now we may or may not have access to it. It's like Turkey has gone from being a pretty pain-in-the-ass ally to now almost an open enemy, and it's a member of NATO. Yeah. So this is a bad, tangled mess for the United States. And as for Erdogan, I mean, I'm not really in the mood to give advice to dictators. Unlike Eugene, I've got some principles here. But sorry, just kidding, folks. I don't have any. But
when you were talking, Eugene, I totally had a flashback to the Benny Hill thing where they had this German announcer who he get more riled up as he spoke, and then they scrawled the Hitler mustache.
Yeah, and that was Kid Nate that was reminding you of that.
He's right,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That was the line I remember.
So that brings us to our teachable moment. Not just in terms of whether you should give advice to dictators, but
I mean, if you do, then you can work for Trump too, because it seems like his whole staff is. Anyway, go ahead.
Nate, you're the reigning Playmate of the Year and radio personality Danny Mathers. Last week you posted a body-shaming shower pic that wasn't just tasteless, it was criminal. LA Fitness not only called the cops, they banned you from all their facilities. You've been suspended from your KLOS radio show job, and your apology fell on deaf ears. What can we learn from your shameful situation?
Obey the law, number one. You can't be taking pictures of people in the shower in the first place, and you definitely can't take pictures of people in the shower without their permission and then publish that shit on the internet. And if you're going to do that, you don't insult them on top of it. And if you're a Playboy model, you shouldn't be insulting civilians for their less than perfect bodies. I mean, people hate you already.
Especially middle-aged women.
Yeah, middle-aged women hate you anyway for everything you are and aspire to be. And then to do this on top of it, this girl's career is done. This girl...
Oh, hold on, you used a funny word there.
Career?
Career, that's... Sorry, I'm sorry, I was not listening for a second. What's her career?
Playboy model of the year. Titties, hey, that's a career. I mean, people have parlayed that. Pamela Anderson made a career out of that. People have parlayed this shit into
How
careers.
many playmates have there been?
Gazillions. But there have been a
Outside of
few.
Barbie Benton, Shannon Tweed, and the Pamela Anderson, how many do you remember?
And Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
And the chick that got killed by Eric Roberts in that movie, Star 80.
Dorothy Stratton.
Dorothy Stratton. She was going to be huge, man. Huge. The sky was the limit for that gal.
So
I'm just saying,
we got 5.
it's still sort of a career. It's, and she
Playboy
done
doesn't even
screwed it
feature
all up.
nudes anymore.
No. They're a general interest news magazine with sexy girls in it, just like Maxim.
Yeah, and you see how thin Maxim is, gone from a folio of 280 pages to like a pamphlet.
The magazine business is dead. But Maxim did tweet out, "Hey, you don't see our girls saying stupid shit like that." So
didn't Felix Dennis die under mysterious circumstances? Fell off of his yacht and drowned under very.
I thought that was.
No, I'm confusing it with the other dude. Who is it?
It's not Conrad Black, is it?
No. There's another guy, another Brit publisher.
British media mogul. Yeah, I know I remember the story, but I can't remember.
Yeah, pretty much. If you are a man with any enemies, you need to stay off of fucking boats. Seriously. No.
It was Robert Maxwell that fell off.
That's right, Bob Maxwell. Yeah, you gotta stay off of fucking boats. Seriously, because nobody knows what happens out there.
Nobody want to. I gotta interrupt everything. We haven't even talked about the fucking 28 pages of the 9/11 report that come out that overwhelmingly indicate that the Saudis were hip deep involved. Bandar, the ambassador of the U.S., was totally involved in funding and aiding and abetting the 9/11 terrorists. And the Bush-Cheney administration whisked those people out of the country and wouldn't let the FBI question them. That's an act of war, one, by our closest ally, and two, treason, fucking treason. So.
Well, but this is about another lesson how much Russia weighs, because when that report came out on Friday, the headlines, the lion's share of the headlines minimize the significance of that fucking
every
report.
Headline, the BBC, nothing to see here. Saudis cleared by 9/11 report. But anybody who actually read the report said that's the opposite of what it says. So
now you're learning about how the machinery works, baby. And I got to tell you something. If you're a Trump fan, I know you're immune to a lot of the noise coming out, media noise coming out. But if you're a Trump fan and you guys win this election, if I'm Trump, I'm not going out in any boats. Mike,
how
Pence
Trump can win the election?
No, wait. No, let me get. Mike Pence was chosen by the Koch brothers.
Yeah, not the Trump.
Anybody who watched The Godfather see how this is shaping up. He fell down the stairs. We don't know how it happened. Now President Mike Pence.
Yeah, we'll see.
I can't believe Trump is gonna go. I can't believe this is not a Hitler with the fucking Bismarck moment where he's like, okay, we can control Hitler. Let him do what he's gonna do, and then Hitler wises up and doubles back on these guys. I can't believe if he wins that Mike Pence lasts a week afterward. It's a high stakes fucking game.
If Trump wanted to win, though, he could call the shit. He could call bullshit on this 9/11 report and call out Bush and Cheney. That's been his most successful moments when he's gone after Bush over the Iraq War and shit like that. Hillary Clinton is going to be in a hell of a position since she's chained to Barack Obama, and Obama looked hard the other way. He has ignored the 9/11 families the whole bit. He's covered up for Bush and Cheney every step of the way. Hillary is going to be in a very awkward position if Trump comes out.
Does he do it? What are the odds? What are the odds that he does it?
0. He's not going to do it. No chance. Man. But I'd say 5%. 5% chance because he's done all kinds of crazy shit.
Well, we don't have the sound effects. Thank you, Google Effects. But we have a regular feature of Eugene's Lost Battalion / Phantom Toll Booth.
Yeah. Well, last week we had. I mean, I'm sorry to keep going on about Chris Weidman, but like I said, with his arms furiously.
We're still laughing, so I guess it's not.
Yeah. His arms.
Keep on laughing. Who cares about Chris Weidman, Eugene?
Well, you know what? He's got a second life, like that all the virtual reality platform. He's got a second life in the Lost Battalion because we're talking about him more than when he was fighting. But this stuff, like I mentioned, I put him in the headline on Knuckle Up because it's like
Which I edited out, by the way.
Yeah, I was
Anyway.
like, what?
Did you edit it out?
For space, Eugene, space. The headline can only be so long.
No, not in the body. You didn't do it in the body, just in the headline, right?
Just in the headline.
So, I mean, it is amazing. He is actually, this is bravura. This is amazing stuff that he's pulling off at the woodpile. You know, he's calling out Bisping. Bisping's an idiot. This fight with Henderson is a sham. He's suddenly, dude's neck is fucking 100%. 100%. The guy who was, I don't know about Rockhold, my neck. I've been trying to ignore this thing. I got to deal with finally. Sarah is off doing this TV show. Ray Longo, God knows where he is, cornering Al Iaquinta, who's blasting guys here and there. I mean, and now suddenly he's now, what, Rocky? He's Rocky by the woodpile. His neck, he wants to, I mean, this is, what's mind-blowing about it to me is that the craven, cowardly, pusillanimous, that the fact that he's done this blows my fucking mind, right? Suddenly he's okay because it's like, I got it. You want to fight the fight that you can. I just tell you, it's just a different thing. If it's me, I'm going Captain Ahab on Luke Rockhold. I will fight you at the 7-Eleven. I will fight you by the juniper bushes. I will fight you at the Tasty Freeze drive-thru. I will fight you wherever I can fight you because I got to get this thing off my fucking.
Right,
I'm going Conor McGregor. I don't give a shit about the whole world can stop.
And yet,
I got to fight you again.
The irony is you are going Captain Ahab on Chris Weidman. Obsessing about him when nobody else cares.
Actually, that's right. I have stepped into.
Wait a second, the mist. Wait, hold on.
It's a well-documented fact that I am in the mist. But this is actually, I've unexpectedly gone meta. Yeah, and you're right. The more noise he makes, I'm like in the mist myself, and I can. Man, I would call the cops on him to shut him up, but I can't find the phone. I can't find the phone in the Lost Battalion to find the phone. So
has the eggshell been shattered, Eugene? The brain is fine, you say, but has the eggshell been shattered? That's
all right. So listen. So he's there. Hendricks is there. Here is another not so bold pronouncement. Fucking RDA is there. Lesnar is there. Can I get you? Can I get a king's ransom for 5? Who is the 5th one? Yeah, no, I can't really. I debated and debated. Yeah, and it came down to Johnny Boney. Yeah, it came down to those fucking 3, and out of those 3, I'm gonna have to go with Frankie Edgar.
Yep.
With who?
Frankie Edgar.
Frankie Edgar.
I guess right, baby.
Or Diana Ross, man. Tell me where the road turns.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Where's he going? Where's he going? Miesha Tate, she's got the bikini photos. Okay, whatever. I mean,
I think it's blatant localism, Eugene. You're just picking these Long Island and Jersey boys just because they're your homies.
It seems like well.
No, and Miesha Tate also has a win over Holly Holm, whereas if you look at Frankie Edgar, I guess, like, who can he say, oh, I beat this guy who has
BJ Gray Maynard.
Oh, that's nice. See, come on. Now you just made me sad.
Holly Holm's going to be in it if she loses this Saturday.
Yeah.
Then she's going to take the whole women's bantamweight division.
No, she won't.
No?
Because she is still a rung on the ladder that Ronda could climb that Ronda would never climb. So it's just from that point alone, she is Lost Battalionized.
It's kind of like John Jones with the undefeated champion thing, right? As long as you have that rung of relevance out there that nobody can take away from, the only way you take that away from John Jones is him losing the belt. The only way you erase the Ronda Rousey victory from Holly Holm possibly is Ronda Rousey beating her, So it's like these weird little points. Whereas for Weidman, like, what can he...
Somewhere at a swingers club, Matt Hamill is pointing at his phone and his Wikipedia entry showing some chick that he beat John Jones. That's...
they edited that part out.
he seems to be the kind of guy, actually, that's a Chris Weidman move. I don't see him. Yeah,
This one is. I think that Nate was totally on point with the whole Ahab thing and Chris Weidman, because the last time I recall you being so obsessed about somebody was Jeb Bush. I think that what happened is when Jeb Bush was vanquished, he lingered on for a while, and you needed someone to replace him, to like wake you out of sleep, in a cold sweat, like what's going on?
Maybe, but I was afraid. My prevailing sentiment when we were dealing with Jeb Bush was fear. I wasn't going to rest until he was put away, and then when he was put away, I could kind of relax. I don't have my prevailing emotional set when I deal with Chris Weidman, who I finally came around on. Is I actually want him to get back on that fucking horse.
Yeah.
I am a Chris Weidman fan, but like I said, you learn more about these guys through loss than you learn about from winning. Winning, he figures he's been touched by God. Providence smiles on him. What happens when Providence doesn't smile on you? Are you a true believer, a cynical opportunist? Hitler has setbacks going into Stalingrad. Does he recalibrate or does he push forward? Well, we know what a true believer does. What does a cynical opportunist do? The fact that that Weidman is there. I mean, he's giving me mixed signals. I'm not sure whether he's a true believer or a cynical opportunist. I'm not really sure. But
or just a dumb guy by a woodpile that no one else cares about.
Right. Because right. Hey, coming out so hard against. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have to completely ignore that because I probably am obsessed with him. But coming out as hard as he has after Bisping, it's like a guy he knows he could probably fucking beat, while now magically having a neck injury against Rockhold, a guy he knows he probably can't beat. Man, I don't know if that's good business or just bad sportsmanship. I don't know.
Well, what would be interesting is, given the fact that he is New York based and you are going to be in New York.
Yep.
Oh, what a phenomenal harmonic convergence to see a photo of the two of you
together by the woodpile.
Yeah. Oh, fucking A. You're right. If I had
watch out, man. He's like, Eugene said?
No.
I never forget that joke.
Yeah, I could see him going for it. It would be great business on his part. I would go out to Long Island if we could make that happen. That would. Oh, you've given me an idea. I got Friday to do it. I could get out there Friday, man. Fuck. Okay.
Well, I'm in Jersey, so if you need somebody to not be there because they don't want to be collateral damage. Thank you for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, at Kid Nate, at Alexiod. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
Yep.
And leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube and MMA Nation iTunes. Visit Bloody Elbow. Read Eugene at Ozzy.com. And be sure to check out all three of us on Amazon.com. Any other plugs?
The tagline?
If you're in New York, come to Central Park, Rumsey Field. I'll be there emceeing. Text me, and I'll sneak you in.
And I'm going to be there too, but not an official capacity.
There you go.
We'll be back next week with another song. If I did it, we don't know what we're going to be talking about because the PR mistakes have yet to be made.